All right, folks, next up on the block, we got an interesting one for you. This is a knockoff of Yoda. You'll notice he is on the Luke Skywalker Farmboy card from the Power of the Force 2, the red carded series. So we did some research. We could not find exactly the manufacturer. It's not like some of the known bootleggers like Uze. These were very popular in the 90s, the late 90s when these were put out. They were put out with some of the, we believe these to be the same company that did the, what do you call it, the Shadows of the Empire knockoff line. And you'll see that because these mostly appear to be Shadows of the Empire items in here. So you'll see the Yoda is a little bit different. That's a smaller sized Yoda with a different kind of cane, a very similar bag, but you can see the Yoda there is the Shadows of the Empire version. The noticeable thing on this one is it's imported by Cashmark. Basically for your dollar store type items or grocery store type places in the UK. So that's what we know about this. We've been on all the boards doing our research, trying to find out for you. Again, I'll show you the size. You can see a slightly different size than what would have been the original. And the quality of these kind of things, the bootlegs, are always just not quite as high quality. For a bootleg, this is actually very high quality. Slight lifting right there, some bunching on the bottom, but a good bubble and a solid card. A lot of times the cards are real thin, as is the plastic on the bubble. We have no way of gauging the quality of the guy inside, but from what we've read, not too bad. These became very popular, very highly sought after in the early 2000s. We think that market has died off a little bit, but if you didn't get a chance to get these, some of these are still highly sought after. You can head on over and get these now. You can see them at TheBigToyAuction.com. I'm going to go over the condition real quick. So you can see some waviness on the card, a little bit of bending, but nothing with the bubble, no cracks, anything like that. You can see right through to here, no real yellowing on that card, which is kind of surprising. And we'll flip it over on the back as we kind of showed you before. So there you have it. If you're a completist that's really into these kind of bootlegs, it's an interesting bit of history. You can look it up. They were done on a couple of different cards, but this one happens to be the Farmboy Luke. So head on over to TheBigToyAuction.com. You can see this and all the other guys that we've got coming your way. All right, here we have a bootleg of the Stormtrooper. Based on what you're looking at right here, it looks to be from perhaps the Shadows of the Empire line. However, with a near original blaster. However, this is on the Star Wars Power of the Force 2 red carded Farmboy Luke. So these were pretty popular in the 90s. We could not find the manufacturer other than the importer. These were imported for Cashmark. These showed up in various places. China, which is probably where they were manufactured. Heck, the originals, the actual real licensed products are made there, so it makes sense that these probably came out as a what they used to call a lunchtime special, got knocked off by a few companies, or perhaps they were done because of the slight size difference. They may have been done as molds made from original figures, bought at retail and then quickly copied. We have no real way of knowing. I'll show you this size marker here so you can see that for yourself. These aren't like the Uzes or some of those early Turkish ones from the 70s and 80s. These were from the late 90s to early 2000s and were very, very highly sought after during that time. Despite being knockoffs, these were pretty hard to get hold of. People like to put these into their collections. You knockoff collectors out there, you know, and there was quite a few of these made with just a few different cards. I believe the Jedi, Luke, there might have been a Yoda card if I'm not mistaken, but all around some good stuff. So I'll show you the condition itself. The card itself has a little bit of warping, some bending to it, but no real creases or anything like that. The bubble is made of a cheaper plastic. You can feel it. It's a little bit softer, a little bit thinner, but still holding up well. And the way it connects to the card is just awful, but surprisingly it hasn't begun to lift. Maybe slightly at the bottom, but it hasn't begun to peel up and come undone, which often happens with these. It's hard to find these. And the sad thing is, once they come undone, it loses its novelty, I think. You can see it's not that yellowed on the card. These tend to lose their novelty because half the fun of these is that a company tried to make them and got so many things wrong, like the Luke Skywalker. This isn't Skywalker, this is Stormtrooper. And you can see on the back all these Shadows of the Empire figures, I believe these to be. Some of these later figures on here. And then, of course, the cash mark, which is how these were introduced. So we believe these to have originally come from the UK, or at least the British, perhaps European markets. These were released in 3 different markets that we know of. European, Chinese, and in the UK. So there you have it. It's tough to find information on knockoffs like this, these kind of bootlegs, but they're fun to collect. If you like collecting bootlegs, head on over to TheBigToyAuction.com. You can see this and all the others. All right, another bootleg here from the Star Wars. This is, it says Power of the Force, the red-carded Power of the Force 2 Farmboy Luke card. Obviously that's not the case. These were from right around that Shadows of the Empire era. You can see he's got the broader chest. It's a different mold and no articulation at the knees, near as I can tell on that. Yeah, I don't think there's any articulation at those knees. There may not be any at the elbows. Kind of reminds me of the Fun Schools. Now the difference is Fun School was not really a knockoff. Fun School was wholly licensed. They were just not very high quality. So these, we had trouble finding a lot of information on these. There's lots of speculation as to where these may have come from, but no real information, unlike the Uze knockoffs earlier, or some of those other, the Turkish, the Italian knockoffs. We believe that these were entered into the Chinese market and in some European and UK markets, and in particular this one came in probably through the UK market, as you can see by the import sticker, imported by Cashmark in London. So these would have arrived at the dollar stores, the 5 and dimes, or I do not know what a dollar store or a 5 and dime is called over there, but some of the grocery store chains, etc. We'll show you the card of it just to give you an idea of the condition. Obviously some waviness. Unlike, as we used as an example, the Fun Schools earlier, the cards are a little bit thicker, heavier stock. They're not like that really thin kind of stuff that the Fun School would use. And the art is taken from some original art. The wrong original art, as this is obviously Farmboy Luke, and it's the Power of the Force, as opposed to what this should have been, but nevertheless, a good attempt. And finally, the bubble. The bubbles are a little bit thinner plastic. It's just starting to crack right here. Let's see if you can see that. Get that to focus in there a little bit. So it's just starting to crack a little bit. Not a ton of yellowing on this. It's hard to tell because he's gold and he shines through that way, plus there's yellow underneath. And it's coming up off the card just a little bit right here, as you can see. But overall, a pretty neat little thing. This isn't something that you'd want just as a Star Wars collector, but certainly as a knockoff collector or bootleg collectors, this is a harder one to find, surprisingly. Based on our research, it's a little bit tougher to find these figures, so now you know where to go. Head on over to TheBigToyAuction.com. You can see this and all the other items we've got coming up. Leave your pre-bids right now or join us at the live auction. Either way, we look forward to seeing you at the auction.